Welcome to Jazz Time. JazzTime.com is an online store that buys, sells, trades authentic luxury watches. We make these videos so our customers can easily choose the best watch for themselves in the comfort of their own home. If you like this watch and would like to purchase it at the lowest price anywhere online, click on the link in the description below to buy it at JazzTime.com. Today, I'm going to be reviewing the Patek Philippe inline perpetual calendar in platinum with a Salmon Dial reference 5236P-010. I'll tell you a little bit about the history of this grand complication, then tell you about where this watch stands in the lineup of other similar grand complications, then tell you about the case, bezel, dial, bracelet movement, finally try it on and give you my thoughts. So let's start with the history. The grand complication is Patek Philippe's most prestigious collection. They have they have a little bit more than four, but four basic collections I'll tell you about. They have the Grand Complication, which is going to be a perpetual calendar with alone with one other complication, such as in this case a moon phase. In other cases, there's many other complications, but at the very minimum, it has a perpetual calendar, not an annual calendar, but perpetual. I'll tell you the difference in a little bit. They also have a Complications, which is a little bit cheaper, basically watches that are under 80,000. Grand Complications are basically watches that are over 100,000. Then they have their most basic line, which is no complications, which is called the Calatrava, and basically it's watches under around 40 or 50,000. And they have a few other ones, such as the Nautilus and the Aquanaut, but anyways. And now I guess that now they have the Cubitus, which is basically just an Aquanaut. Okay, all right, so we're looking at this one, and this is part of the Grand Complication category. Now, of the Grand Complication categories, there's many, many different models, but I'll break it down to you this way. If it has a perpetual calendar and a moon phase, that's the bare minimum it takes to be a a Grand Complication. And this exactly meets that criteria. So there's a few of those in that range. This is the basic model. It's a basic model of the most complicated model, which is the Grand Complications. Okay, all right. Now let's talking about this one. It's called the inline calendar, and it was released in 2021. That's not very long ago, because now it's 25, so that's only about 4 years ago. It was first released in platinum with a blue dial, and in 24 it was released in Salmon Dial, which is what you're looking at here, and there's only two variations. I'm sure over the years, since it's only been out for almost 4 years now, they're going to make it in other materials with other dial colors, etc. They'll make it probably in rose gold, yellow gold. They already make it in platinum, and maybe they'll make some other dials, and they'll do it for some time. Okay. And when it came out, what makes it so special? Well, the word inline calendar says it all. If you look at right under the 12 o'clock, you can see the date, the week, the day, 1 through 31, and then the month, January through December. And it's all in one singular line. No other perpetual calendar does that. They all do it in some strange way. They either do it like they put it the month here, the week there, whatever they do. But they do not put it in one line. Putting it in one line makes it super easy to read, and therefore the name is Inline Perpetual Calendar, which I'll go through when I talk about the movement, how they're able to achieve that. But for right now, this was the first time that Patek was able to produce an inline perpetual calendar in a wristwatch. They actually produced it once before, a long time ago, I think in the 70s, in a pocket watch. But this is the first time they've ever done it in a actual wristwatch, and they were able to do it in such a tiny, tiny space. Okay, so that's a little bit about the history. There's not a lot of history since it's only about 4 years old, and there's only two variations, blue or salmon, and the salmon just came out. Now let's talk about where this watch stands in the lineup of other similar Grand Complications. As I just told you, the most basic of the Grand Complication is that the watch must have a perpetual calendar, which means it does not need to be reset once every 4 years, because it can calculate when it is leap year and automatically change from February 28th to March 1st without having to go through anything else. So that is a grand complication that will have a moon phase, which is that little moon at the very bottom, and also the perpetual calendar. From there, you got many other variations. You have a perpetual calendar, moon phase, and it has a chronograph. Those would be the 5270, and then you have a split second after that, and then you add some mono pushers, and then you add some, celestials, some alarms, some minute repeaters, so on and so forth. The list goes on, and it can go literally into the millions of dollars. But most of us are unable to even think about buying those $1 million watches. So if you want a grand complication to entry into that level, boom, this would be it right here. It's the cheapest entry into that level. And in fact, the watch retails for $140,000, at least as of 24, and we are selling it well under that at jazztime.com. So under 100,000, somewhere in the 90s, I believe. So that's quite a big discount. I think it's what does that come out to? More than 30% off? Yeah. Brand new everything, but you get quite a big discount. So, all right, now where is it? That's about where it stands in the lineup. All right, now let's start talking about the watch itself. Let's start with the case. The case here is, surprisingly, they were able to fit all this stuff, and I'll tell you about the movement in a little bit when I get to it. But the movement actually has 503 parts. Now, for those who don't really know, that's a heck of a lot of parts. Like I said, I'll get to it when I get to it. But let's start with the case. The case is 41.3 millimeters. Let's call it 41 millimeters. And it has a height of 11 millimeters. That is surprisingly small. It's not thick and it's not big. And how they were able to fit 503 parts into this movement, into this small space, I'm like shocked. Now, the case itself is a very beautiful case. It actually looks very similar to another. There's several other watches that have this sort of case to it. It's not in the grand complications category. In fact, it is in the complications category. The regulator, which is the 5235-50R, the regulator has the same case, these sort of angled lugs. So that's one. And also, another case that's very similar is the 5326G, which is sort of this vintage looking watch. It's not the exact same case. It has sort of a different middle case, but it looks very similar, has very similar lugs. Not exactly the same, but it's very similar. And what is beautiful about them? I mean, they're just angled very nicely. It gives a very sleek look, very classy look. And the bevel, the way that the bezel kind of slopes down into the lugs just makes the watch look very refined, streamlined. It's simple, but it's elegant. And that is the theme that Patek really goes with on a lot of their watches. It's one of my favorite case designs, even though it's so simple. I mean, they make a lot of great, beautiful cases. This is definitely one of them. Okay, so it's a unique case, and it's only shared by a few watches. The inline calendar that you see here, and basically the regulator have this one. Okay, that's the case. And let's move on to the dial here. Now the dial is, at least the layout is, what really makes this watch special. Now, it's a perpetual calendar. That means, as I told you earlier, the leap year occurs once every 4 years instead of, once you get to February 28th, then it jumps to March 1st once every 4 years. And all annual calendars, or let's just say calendar watches that display the month, the day, and the date or the week, they don't usually calculate for February 20, the leap year. Patek has come out with the perpetual calendar, and actually, I believe they're the first watch company to ever come up with a perpetual calendar. So they kind of the kings of perpetual calendar, and they came out with one really early on. I think something like 1925 or something. So that's like 100 years ago that they've come out with this perpetual calendar, and since then they've done many things with the perpetual calendar. They've become the king of perpetual calendars. Okay. They never have to be reset. It's crazy. Okay. At any rate, what is so special about the dial? Well, they used to make this dial in blue. Now it is made in the Salmon Dial. And as you can see, you have the week, Monday through Sunday on the left, and you have the date in the center, okay, 1 through 31, and you have the month on the right-hand side. So everything's set in a really nice, easy to read way. Hence the name Perpetual Calendar. And they all change instantaneously, by the way. So if I may, I pull the crown out here, okay, and if I wind through 24 hours, okay, you can see it, the date change. The date, of course, not the month because it's not there, but you can see it change. Well, actually, we can set it so that the month will also change. Okay, so you can see it's an instantaneous change, and actually that takes a lot of work because the only other, well, not only, but not a lot of companies are doing instantaneous change. The one that comes to mind is the Zeitwerk by Longa. Usually the date change will be something slow. It will not click over. And why is because that requires a lot of energy from the watch to have the date click all at once instantaneously. And especially here is 4 different discs. It's actually a disc for the week, a disc for the month, and 2 discs on either side of the dial. Like if you cut the dial down the 12 o'clock position, you put one dial on the left, which has 1, 2, and 3 for the 1 through 31, and on the right hand side you have another disc that goes 1 through 9 or 1 through 0, 1 to 9 and then 0, so that you can have the date 1 through 31 appear right in the center, and that overlaps the date or the wheel on the week and the month. Okay, well, I'll show it to you when we turn over. Or actually, anyways, so what makes this dial special, as I said, is that it produces the inline calendar, which takes a lot of work. It requires a lot of power, and they did a great job here by making a very simplistic dial. After that, they put the simple railroad tracks on the minute markers, and they put the beautiful faceted, well faceted in hour markers and hands, so they don't really block anything. So at no point, sometimes the hands will actually block the calendar, but Patek did a great job of kind of making the hands very thin, although you can't read them at night though. I wish they would have put some luminescent or something on it. But at any rate, they did a beautifully faceted baton style hour markers, and they did charcoal gray, white gold apply. Oh, sorry. The hour markers are done in charcoal gray, so they are white gold themselves, but they've added something to make it charcoal gray instead of just a normal white. That's something that you commonly see, which is just a white gold hour markers, but Patek had to go above and beyond that and make them charcoal gray, okay, as opposed to just white or white gold, okay. And Patek actually calls this dial an opaline rose gilt, but 99% of the rest of the world calls this a salmon dial because it looks like the cover of salmon. Okay, now that is the, oh yeah, and I forgot to mention finally the running minute, running second hand at the very bottom is overlays the moon phase. The moon phase, I believe the moon comes out once every 28 days or something, or anyways. But the moon phase is very accurate. I've tried this myself to test it, and not on this particular one, but on other moon phases. And the moon phase is very accurate. Okay. Oh, I guess I should say on the bottom left-hand corner at the 8 o'clock position, that white or blue dot represents night. So you don't change it so you can tell if your watch is set at night. And the reason you can do that is not so you can't tell if it's night or day, because you probably can tell by just looking outside or just knowing what time of day it is, if it's day or night, but it's to let you know that when you're setting your watch, do you need to if it's night or day. And also the number at the right hand side, which is 4 o'clock, that number corresponds to the leap year. So 1 through 3 are normal years, and 4 is actually a leap year. So when it's set on 4, then when it's February 28th, it'll automatically jump to March 1st. Okay, that's pretty much the dial. And I forgot, I guess I should have mentioned on the case, the way to actually change the date and all that stuff, you require pushers, and it's not done through the crown. You just simply press the pushers to go through it. Okay, anyways, let's move on to the strap here. Now the strap here is a very beautiful strap. Actually, sometimes I think you should change the strap, make it match better. But in this case, I have to say the strap looks perfect. I really wouldn't change anything. It's an alligator leather with square scales. It's hand stitched and it's shiny brown chocolate with a platinum fold over clasp. I mean, it's pretty much perfect. Considering this is a dress watch, I don't really think I'd go with anything else. Possibly could do something else in suede, but I just think it looks great as is. Basically, it's a brown crocodile strap. You can't go wrong with it. It's just a beautiful look. Okay, let's talk about the movement here. The movement is quite special. They designed this one. It's called the 31260PSQL. It has 503 parts, which, if you don't know, is a lot. A chronograph has somewhere like between 250, 300, something like that. A split second has somewhere usually I think around 500 or so. So this one has a heck of a lot. And why is that? Well, as I just stated earlier, is the movement requires a lot of energy to be able to simultaneously turn four discs all at the same time when the date changes. And that requires quite a bit. Now, looking at the movement, what I can point to you, why is it beautiful? Well, it actually looks almost the same as the regulator movement, very, very similar actually. And why? And it makes sense because it uses basically the same case as the regulator. If you think the regulator actually is not a very popular watch, but it's a beautiful watch. It's an amazing watch, actually. I love it. And so is this one. What stands out to me is that you can see the fingers of the bridge kind of looking like four fingers. And then you have these beautiful big gears with big rims on them. And then you have a very nice asymmetrical rotor, micro rotor, done in platinum. And then you can see this beautiful balance wheel with the bridge that connects, and you can see the detail of the bridge work. And underneath all that, you can see the nice finishing, and as well as the Geneva stripes over the top. And it's just, and of course, these beautiful jewels. So every part of this movement, in my opinion, looks fantastic. It's really, really just a beauty to behold. Okay, now it's time to try this watch on. Now, I am 6 foot tall, 200 pounds. I have a 7.5 inch wrist. As you see, this watch really looks not too small on me. It actually looks great on me. I wish I could actually buy this and afford it and wear it. But look, if you're watching this video and you think that you want to buy this watch, please click on the link in the description below to buy it at jazztime.com. My thoughts are, if you want to enter the Patek realm of Grand Complication, which is the highest achievable level. Yes, it's not the most expensive watch. You could buy a really expensive Grand Complication for like, millions of dollars. But for all intents and purposes, most people cannot afford that, or if they can, they don't want to. So this gives you a great foray into the Grand Complication and entry level to it. You get it at a massive discount because Patek is selling it for $140 or so, plus tax, going to cost you like $160, $170. And jazztime.com is selling it for under $90 or around $90. I mean, it's a massive discount. So, and it's a beautiful watch for all the reasons I described earlier. It's a Grand Complication. It's from one of the best, if not the best, watch brand in the world. And, what's there not to like? So click on the link in the description below to buy it at jazztime.com.
If you want to find out more about the watch you just saw in the video, you can just click below on Show More to see the full description. Then you can check the link next to Model as seen in video, click on it, and you will get to the proper page where you can see all the details. If you're watching on a mobile phone, you have to click on the arrow down on the right hand side below the video to see the full description. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. If you would like to share this video with your friends, you can use the share button below and share it on any platform you like. If you have questions, constructive feedback, want to tell us about some mistakes or misspeaks, just write a comment below. If you want to see more videos like this, you should subscribe to our channel and visit our channel page where you can find all the videos. And if you're interested in a specific watch brand, you can check out our playlists If you want to check the price for a watch or want to buy one, remember at jazztime.com you always get a steep discount, so you should check the prices with us. If you want to know the price for a specific watch, just go to Google, type in Jazz Time, plus the brand, model and the details you're interested in, and Google will find the right page for you. Thank you for watching.